You don't mention their name anymore, not even in prayer. It sits at the edge of your throat like something sour you never meant to taste again. But it comes back late at night when the house creaks and the past crawls out from the corners. You remember what they said, what they didn't, what you needed them to do, and how they didn't even notice you shattered. You breathe in deep, but there's a pause like your soul can't quite finish the exhale. You wonder if forgiving them would make you weak, or foolish, or worse, if it would mean they win. And so you stay quiet, but the ache remains, because silence doesn't mean it stopped hurting. You remember her voice at night, soft, steady, calling out names of people who never said thank you, who never changed. Your mother whispered prayers for those who never deserved them. "Bless the ones who hurt me," she would say. Her Bible was always open even when her heart was broken. She prayed for the neighbor who cursed, for the sister who betrayed, even for the father who left. As a child, you wondered if she had forgotten. But now, as you sit in your own still house, you realize it wasn't forgetfulness. It was faith. You still remember her words. "I forgive because I've been forgiven." And something in you aches for that kind of grace, even if you're not ready to say it yet. You busy yourself with dishes. You fold towels too tightly. You rewatch shows you've seen before anything to stop your mind from returning to that day. That sentence, that moment you knew things would never be the same. People say time heals, but no one tells you what to do when time passes and the wound still bleeds. You've read verses. You've prayed halfway prayers. But then the memory arrives like a storm with no warning. You flinch at kindness that looks like them. You avoid places they might be. And you keep pretending the scar isn't still tender. But in the silence, God sees you. Not just the smile you wear, but the ache underneath. The part you wish you could forget and can't. You think about Judas. Not the kiss, but the fact that Jesus still called him friend. You wonder how you feel more like Peter swinging wildly saying things you don't mean. Or maybe like the man at the pool waiting for someone to help, but no one comes. You think I would never have betrayed him, but the truth is, someone betrayed you, and you can't seem to climb out from under the weight of it. You try to be strong. You try to be godly, but when you close your eyes, all you see is the moment they turned. And all you feel is how alone it left you. You want to forgive, but you also want someone to notice you're still bleeding. You talk about the weather. You bring casseroles to church. You smile when someone asks how you've been. You've learned the art of hiding in plain sight. It's easier than explaining the fracture. Easier than admitting that someone close, someone who should have known better, broke something sacred in you. So you bury it. You fold it beneath polite words and half-hearted prayers. But when you lay down at night, it resurfaces. Their voice, their absence, the part of you that still aches to be seen. You wonder if God still counts your pain when you stop talking about it. But somewhere deep beneath the silence, you sense He does. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for tonight. You picture it clearly. The Last Supper. Jesus steady knowing what was about to come. Bread in His hands. A traitor at His table. You think about the way He served Judas anyway. Washed his feet, fed him, looked him in the eyes. You wonder what it felt like to give love when betrayal was already in the room, and something inside you quiets, because you've tried to pretend the betrayal didn't matter. But he didn't pretend. He just stayed. He knew heartbreak. He didn't avoid the wound. He walked straight into it, and you feel the nudge. Maybe your pain has a place at the table too, even if you're not ready to forgive he is. You sit with the thought that maybe you've gotten used to this feeling. The bitterness, the ache that wraps around your thoughts before sleep. You've built a quiet life around not healing. You smile just enough. You serve, pray, give. But you've closed one door, the one with their name on it. And sometimes you catch yourself guarding the wound more than letting it breathe. Because if you let it go, who are you then? Who are you without the anger? You've told yourself it protects you, but tonight, you're not so sure. Because grace keeps knocking. Not loud, just gently. And something in you wonders if there's more than this silent resentment. Something softer, something holy, something like peace. No words, just presence. You don't see him, but you feel the chair dip beside you like someone settled in. And somehow you know it's him. He doesn't say, let it go. He doesn't ask why you're still angry. He just sits. The room grows still. Your heartbeat softens. Your hand rests near his. There is something about the way he's quiet, not waiting for your explanation, not trying to fix you, just staying, as if to say, I saw it too. I was there. I know. And you breathe. For the first time in a long time, the pain doesn't feel shameful. It just feels seen. You open your mouth, then close it again. The words are too big, too tangled. But he doesn't rush you. You think the words in your head, and somehow you know. He hears them. I can't forgive them. I don't want to. Help me want to. There's no lightning. No verse suddenly makes sense. Just a stillness. Like he's holding the sentence with you. Not demanding. Not disappointed. He just waits. And in that waiting, something sacred happens. You don't need to perform. You don't need to explain. You're just allowed to hurt, to not be ready, to be human. And he stays anyway. You didn't forgive them tonight. You didn't forget. But something in you softened. You exhaled the weight you've been carrying. And when you did, he didn't leave. He didn't vanish like others have. He stayed, still beside you, still warm, still aware of every shattered thing you haven't named. This isn't the end. There's more work ahead. But tonight isn't about resolution. It's about rest. The kind you've longed for. The kind that doesn't come from being fixed, but from being known. You close your eyes not to forget the wound, but to remember the healer is here. He is still here. And he's not going anywhere. It slips out sometimes. When you're pouring coffee, when you're folding laundry, when the house is too quiet. You whisper their name not in prayer, not in longing, but in something between anger and ache. As if naming them gives shape to the ghost you carry. You've tried to bury it. You've stuffed it under schedules, scripture, and 1,000 little kindnesses to others. But there they are, still inside you. Not because you want them there, but because the wound never closed. You whisper their name, and somewhere in the silence you hear the echo of your own. Like God is saying, I hear both, and I still love you. The power had gone out that night. You were young. The room glowed with quiet. Your father opened his Bible by candlelight and read it aloud. Love keeps no record of wrongs. You didn't understand it then. Now it stings. You keep the record, not on paper, but inside. Every word they said, every apology they never gave. You think about your father's voice, how steady it was, how worn with forgiveness, and you wonder, how does someone love like that? How did he ever learn to release what wasn't fair? You remember how he smiled at you in that glow, and something inside you stirs. Maybe you could learn too, even now. You imagine it sometimes what they'd say if they knew how long it haunted you. Would they apologize? Would they brush it off? Would they even remember what they did? That's what gnaws at you, how small it might have felt to them. But to you, it was the moment the ground cracked, the breath you couldn't catch, the part of you that still hasn't come back. You try to give it to God, but your hands keep tightening around it. You want justice. You want understanding. But most of all, you want it to stop owning you. And you hear the whisper again. If the sun sets you free, you don't have to carry this anymore. You picture her dragged into the center surrounded by cold eyes. No defense, no dignity. Just a soul exposed. You've never been in her place, but somehow you are. Held in judgment. Or maybe holding someone else there. You remember Jesus kneeling, drawing in the dust, not rushing to accuse, not rushing to explain. You feel your own hands trembling, still clutching the stone of what they did. You haven't thrown it, but you haven't dropped it either. You feel the tension, justice, and mercy. And then his eyes meet yours. He doesn't scold, he just waits. As if to say, when you're ready, you can let go. You've tried. You've said the words, written the prayers. You've meant them, mostly. But then the wound pulses again, like a bruise touched too soon. A scent, a phrase, a memory that doesn't ask permission, it just shows up. And suddenly you're right back there, back in the ache. You think, maybe I never really forgave. But maybe forgiveness isn't a moment. Maybe it's a returning. 1,000 small surrenders. One breath at a time. You don't need to start over. You just need to stay with it. And even in your trembling, he stays with you. Not measuring your progress. Just holding your hand while you try again. The crowd fades. The noise quiets. You see him kneel. Not to accuse, not to shout, just writing. The dust swirls gently around his fingers. You lean in, wanting to know what he's writing. But it's not about the words, it's the posture. The way he lowers himself into the moment, into her shame, into their hatred, into the middle of it all. You sit with that image. Because your pain has made you stand tall, guarded, tight-fisted. But he kneels. And you realize maybe healing starts there. Not by winning, but by getting low, close to the ground, close to him, where grace lives, where grudges lose their grip. You stare at the ceiling, trying to form a prayer you haven't already prayed. But nothing feels new. You say softly, I don't know how to do this. It's not dramatic, just honest. You want to forgive. You also want to stay mad. You want to move on. You also want them to feel what you felt. So you sit in the tension, the in-between. And in that place you realize something sacred. You don't have to know how. You just have to be willing. He'll take your silence. He'll take your questions. He'll take your sigh. And in return, he'll give you himself. That's where forgiveness begins. Not in your strength, but in his nearness. You're not expecting it. But it comes. Not in thunder, not in fire, just your name. Spoken softly, spoken with knowing. It cuts through the clutter in your mind, the loops, the stories, the what-ifs. Beloved, he says, and everything stills. He doesn't ask you to forgive in that moment. He just calls you by name, the real you, the one behind the wound. And in that moment you realize something holy. He's not rushing you toward forgiveness. He's inviting you back to yourself, to the part of you that was never defined by pain, just by love. And that voice, it begins to soften everything you thought was hardened forever. You whisper the question like a child unsure of the answer. Is it okay that I still hurt? You expect silence, maybe disappointment, but you feel warmth instead, like someone wrapped a blanket around your shoulders. There is no rebuke, no shame, only compassion. Jesus doesn't remove the ache, he meets you inside it. His presence doesn't rush to heal, it honors the wound. You sit with him in the not yet, and you realize it's not weakness to still feel it. It's human. He wept too. He bled too. He knows what it is to forgive with scars still showing. So you breathe deeper, and the hurt doesn't vanish. But it softens because he stayed. You didn't let go tonight. Not all the way. But you reached. And that was enough. No lightning cracked the sky. No sudden peace erased the memory. But your hand stayed open. And his hand never left yours. It's strange how something so small can feel like a miracle. How presence can be louder than answers. You feel the warmth of his nearness. Not to push, not to prod, just to be. You close your eyes slowly, the ache still there but no longer in charge. For once, the wound doesn't keep you awake, because something greater holds it now. And even in your sleep, he stays. That's the beginning of release, and it's already begun. The room is dim. Light hasn't touched the window yet, but your pillow is damp. You don't remember the dream, just the weight, the ache. You sit up slowly, not out of strength, but because staying down feels heavier. You press your palm to your chest as if to steady something breaking beneath the surface. You whisper, I don't know why I'm still hurting. No one answers, but somehow you sense you're not alone. There's a presence in the stillness, not loud but unwavering, and you breathe slower. Because this grief, this ache, no longer has to be carried alone, not when he's in the room. It slips from your lips before you notice. That old tune, the one your grandfather hummed as he washed the dishes, soft, sure, just as I am without one plea. You didn't understand it then, but now, with your hands older, your back aching, and your faith worn soft, you begin to know. You hum it in the quiet, not to perform, but to remember. He sang it as though grace sat beside him. And maybe it did. Maybe it still does. You close your eyes and keep humming, and the air feels different, as if the Spirit joins you, as if your song rises into heaven, and somehow you are not forgotten. After betrayal, after disappointment, after waiting for someone who never returned, you ask yourself, what does love even look like now? Is it possible to give again, to open again? You touch the place in your chest where trust once lived. It feels quieter now, but not empty, just cautious, wiser. You remember a verse about perfect love casting out fear. And you wonder what if love now means holding space, not rushing, not forgetting, but choosing tenderness anyway. What if love isn't a feeling, but staying kind when the world wasn't? And in that wondering, you feel him draw near again, not answering, just staying. You think of the man on the cross, the one who didn't ask for miracles, only mercy. He didn't deserve it. But Jesus didn't measure him. He just said, "Today, you'll be with me." You close your eyes, and in your imagination, you are that man. Ashamed, undone, nothing to offer but your pain. And still, he turns toward you, eyes full of everything you never received from the one who hurt you. No conditions, no timeline, just mercy. You whisper, "Remember me." And though you don't hear it aloud, you feel the answer, "I already do." Even here, even now, you are not lost. You picture yourself as a child again, holding something fragile, something crooked, something you made with trembling hands. It's the memory, the one that still stings. You hold it up as if to say, "This is all I have." You expect rejection, silence, but instead, you feel warmth. A hand beneath yours steadying. He takes the memory not to erase it, but to hold it with you, as a father would with a child's art, seeing more than the flaws, seeing the heart. You realize it's not about perfection, it's about offering what still hurts and trusting it's safe in his hands. And it is. You imagine his eyes, not fierce, not condemning, just open. Open enough to hold the weight of the world and your wound too. You think of the silence between each breath he took, the quiet choice to stay, not to flee. And you wonder how love can hang there, not fighting, not flinching, just receiving. You look at your pain again, not to justify it, not to keep it, but to offer it. Because now you see that love doesn't always look like healing. Sometimes it looks like presence, and mercy that doesn't walk away even when others do. You whisper, "If you stayed for them, maybe you're staying for me too." The words feel too big for your mouth. They wobble as they leave your lips. I release them. You say it again, softer, not because you feel strong, but because you're tired of holding what was never yours to carry. You're not excusing. You're not forgetting. You're just surrendering. Your hands unclench. Your heart doesn't race. And something shifts. Not outside you, but within. Like you opened a window in a room long closed. Fresh air comes, still unsure, still tender, but different. And Jesus is near, not clapping, not correcting, just present. because that's what freedom feels like, a slow trembling yes to let go and be held. You're not sure when it happened. But your fingers are no longer empty. They're covered softly, fully. As if someone took them in his and said, "Enough now. No speeches, no scriptures, just the touch of God." You look down, and though you can't see them, you feel them. His hands, scarred, warm, strong enough to hold your release, gentle enough not to force it. You want to cry, not because you're broken, but because you're finally not alone in the breaking. You rest your palms in his, and the shaking stills. Forgiveness didn't feel like triumph. It felt like this, being held. Not because you let go, but because he never did. You could go back, replay it, pick it apart. But for the first time, you don't want to. You're not pretending it didn't happen. You're just letting it be, behind you. You close your eyes, not to erase, but to rest. There is peace now. Not perfect, not total, but real. Your breathing slows. The name that haunted you no longer echoes the same. It floats. It fades. Because something holier took its place. Not forgetting, not fixing. Just mercy settling like dusk over everything broken. You whisper, "Thank you for not rushing me." And the silence answers soft, sacred. You are safe. There's no miracle here. No fireworks of healing. Just you sitting in the quiet, aware. You whisper it without ceremony. You never left. And something deep inside confirms it. He didn't leave when they hurt you. He didn't leave when you hardened. He didn't leave when you couldn't forgive. And now, as your soul rests like a child after weeping, he smiles. Not because it's over, but because you turned. Just enough. Just once. And that was enough. You still remember the pain. But now you remember his presence more. You close your eyes, not afraid, not alone. He is here, still, and he always will be. Pray for when you want to forgive, but it still hurts. God, I tried to let it go tonight, but something still aches and I don't even know why it lingers. Please take what I can't release and just hold it for me. Stay close, even if I never find the words. Amen. You don't have to rush this part. Let your shoulders fall. Let your breath come slowly. This night wasn't about fixing anything. It was about not being alone in the ache. You've been carrying so much for so long, and it's okay if you were not ready to drop it all at once. God saw the places you trembled. He sat beside your silence. He wrapped his presence around the parts of you that still ache, and he never asked you to pretend. What matters is that you reached even if your hand shook. What matters is that you didn't walk away from him even when it hurt. Tonight was not about perfect faith. It was about sacred honesty, and that is enough. So breathe again, soft and slow. Rest in the quiet truth. He stays even when they didn't. And you are held in a love that never left. If this moment met you where you needed in the shadows of an old wound, in the trembling of forgiveness not yet finished, I want to say you are not alone. This space was made for hearts like yours. So, if you'd like to walk gently with us, subscribe to keep his voice within reach when yours feels tired. Share this with someone who's still holding what was never theirs to carry. And if you feel safe to do so, I would be honored to hear your story in the comments. When was the moment you first felt God sitting beside your pain, not fixing it, just staying? Good night.